I do want to mention, first of all, as we get started, Matthew, as we look at the state basketball championships, Division II got completed, and then Division I, the young women, they were also involved in their tournament, and then it got halted. Where does all that stand as of right now?
Sure, yeah. Right now, it's about exactly what you said, where it's just halted for the time being. Our the Board of Control on this past Tuesday voted unanimously to continue to remain with them being suspended or postponed, whatever wording you want to use. So I think what it says is they want to hold out hope as long as possible, realistically possible, in order to try to resume this and, have a completion to it. I think nobody wants it more than those student athletes and coaches and fans and supporters of all those schools, but we want it completed just as bad as they do. There's a lot of work that goes into this from everybody's part, and there's nothing more devastating than when we had to suspend the tournaments at the time. So I think everybody's going to keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we can get to that point, but also got to be realistic and realize that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they may not get played, which would be devastating. But I think everybody realizes this is out of everybody's hands, and we've just got to hope for the best.
I know you've got a kind of a Cinderella story going on as well. You put that up on the TSSAA.org website, .com. Is it .com or .org?
.org.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
.org. About the Upperman School?
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, just a tragic story, really. And everybody knows it was devastating enough with tornadoes that went through Middle Tennessee just a couple weeks, maybe not even that long before the coronavirus pandemic hit us really hard. And the folks in Upperman, right there on the plateau, everybody knows the devastation in Nashville and the surrounding area, but Cookeville, I think everybody's aware of it, but it kind of got overlooked, maybe more so from a national standpoint, but they really took the brunt of it with the devastation and number of lives lost and homes destroyed. But if folks want to go up here and look at that, both the Upperman girls are still alive. They're in the semifinals, and their boys have qualified for the state tournament as well, which is a rarity in its own. Boys and girls from the same school that get to the state tournament the same year is a feat that should be praised by anybody for sure. But there were two girls, I believe, on the team that lost their homes, and then I think there was a young man, I believe, who had a sibling who lost his life from the boys' team. So it just what that school had gone through already, and then for the coronavirus to hit and kind of, they were playing for those people and everybody in their community who had been touched by the tornado, and then it kind of came to a screeching halt. So it's an interesting story. John Bryce, the guy who does a lot of stuff for us, worked on that, and we posted that actually today. So I think it'd be good for anybody to go up there and read that.
It was a great story. I did read that, and I was so glad to see it put up. I want to salute those young men and women and wish them all the best down the line. I know a lot of devastation up in that area, but Tennessee seems to come together, and volunteer state gets it done, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. It's called that for a reason, that's for sure.
It sure is. Okay, let's swing on down a little bit further, a few weeks in advance, to baseball and softball. I know a lot of the schools had kicked off their 2020 season, and the latest word that I saw, you guys still have plans to do spring fling, right?
Yeah, that's the hope. Again, it's kind of out of our hands at this point, and everybody knows that not only the state of Tennessee, but everybody across the country is pretty much in a complete shutdown as far as schools, and now we're talking about restaurants and just daily life in general. So it's we kind of got to get back to some normalcy before we can start thinking about it. And we hope that comes sooner than later because we've got to get the kids back in school before we can even start talking about getting them back on the athletic field. So that's all got to happen first or in conjunction at the same time. So obviously we've got a little more time to deal with spring fling. It's always the week before Memorial Day. And the way the calendar's fallen this year, Memorial Day is very early. So spring fling was set to start on May 19th. which most folks are used to it starting, May 24th, 25th, somewhere around there. But the way the calendar fell, that's when it was this year. So we've already looked at, all right, can we come back and do this a couple weeks later, starting maybe in early June, which could be a possibility. But again, you got to give so much time for the lead in with region tournaments and sectionals and all that stuff has to have time to take place too. We can't just start back and day one, boom, we're at spring fling. There's a qualifying process for it. So, and then you think of all the other stuff. Kids got to get back in athletic shape, and coaches, I'm sure, would love to get them on the practice field, get some regular season games in if possible. And we just don't know what that time frame is going to look like right now. So, obviously, if we can get basketball and spring fling both in, great. If we can get just, basketball just realistically won't happen, but we can still somehow manage to save a little bit of the spring sports, that'd be great as well. But also, on the flip side, you got to be realistic or, look at all possible avenues and know that neither one may happen as well. But we hope that's not the case, but we'll just hold out hope and keep our fingers crossed.
Of course, everyone's got their fingers crossed, and hopefully this COVID-19 virus dissipates and the line shrinks and we level out and everybody can get back to normal.
Let's hope so, for sure.
Did want to mention something else before we let you go, and I appreciate the time you've taken today, Matthew. It means a lot to me, and I know it does folks that will hear this. There's a bunch of sports lovers that love high school sports. It's up there with me. High school and college is my best two, and in that order. But I had, before we halted all the action we had been doing in baseball and some Columbia State stuff that I had done, I had gotten a couple of spots that TSSAA put out in reference to referees across the state, umpires and referees, that you had lost a lot of folks that have left. And I just want you to see if you could comment a little bit about that. Is it in a dire situation or are things working out?
I think it's slowly improved, and a lot of that is due to the efforts we've made in trying to reach out to the public and basically just stating we need officials. I mean, it's a constant need. Our numbers had gotten extremely low in a handful of sports a few years back, and that's what really, brought us to the level of needing to reach out to folks and make them aware of it. Whether it's, getting people who are former athletes or parents that, love to go to games and, whoever it may be, if you've got an itch for athletics and love the sport or a specific sport, we need officials in all sports. And, you hear it all the time, Greg. We certainly do. And fans see it on social media and stuff. You see all the stuff about, well, this the worst officiating I've ever seen in my life at tonight's game or whatever. And you rarely see officials get patted on the back. Well, if you're one of those ones complaining, here's your opportunity to do something about it. Get out there and see if you can do the job. And I'm not saying that, facetiously. I mean, we need you. So get out there and there's not much to it. You can go to our website, TSSAA.org. There's an official section. You can register. We'll get you all kinds of information. It's a good way to make a couple extra bucks too. But it's and one thing we do try to stress to the fans and kind of piggybacking on that is a lot of reasons that officials don't stay in the game is because of what they do here from the stands. Especially at the high school level where, at the college level, they can make some pretty nice money and they can put up with that stuff. But sometimes those officials walk out of a game and be like, this ain't worth $80 for me to sit here and get berated and yelled at and things like that. They're trying to do the best they can. Officials aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes, but they try to do the best they can. And if we don't have officials, we don't have a game. So we're trying to keep the games going, and to do that, we need officials. So certainly anybody who's interested, we're always looking for them.
And one more thing on that, I had heard at one time, this has probably been close to maybe a year ago, that football season in Tennessee was in jeopardy of breaking, maybe having 2 different days or nights to play football because not enough referees. Is that still the case, or is that pretty well okay now?
Well, I I think we're okay in football. There's certain areas that were certainly more limited than others. And, 95% of games are played on Friday night. Everybody knows that. But, we're always open. I mean, and some schools do it, whether it be they may have been approached by a TV station to move their game to a Thursday or something like that. We see some Thursday night games every now and then with varsity, but just about everybody knows Friday nights is high school football. So, and when you do have that many games going on the same night across the state, it does kind of stretch it thin. And in some areas, whether it's you might be short or you might be having to get officials from a further distance, which obviously costs a little more money when you're paying mileage, things like that. So I don't think we're necessarily in jeopardy of splitting weeks up intentionally or anything like that at this point. But the more officials you got, the better you can make that pool of officials in regards to the quality of officials you've got. So I think the more we have, the better officiating you see across the board. And the less you have, you got to take what you get. So, it's the same with every sport, really. So we're always looking.
High school sports are as American as apple pie. And going to a game or meet is a chance to see the stars of tomorrow shine today. But as anybody who's ever attended a high school sporting event in Tennessee knows, you can't have the stars without the stripes. High schools are currently looking for new officials in almost every sport. Who looks good in stripes? Anybody looking for a way to stay connected to a sport they love. If you like the idea of giving back to your community while earning a few extra bucks, chances are you'd look good in stripes too. We want to hear from you. We need to hear from you. No officials means no games. No stripes means no stars. And what kind of America would that be? Tennessee needs more high school officials. Go to highschoolofficials.com to sign up or learn more. That's highschoolofficials.com.
Before I let you go, this COVID-19 deal is still running rapid. Do you guys have a meeting set to maybe discuss a little further about stuff, or are you going to wait a little while to see how this thing works out?
Yeah, there's no set date for a specific meeting or a deadline that, hey, we got to make a call by this point, that kind of thing. But I think that it's an ongoing discussion, daily. We're talking, and that's what's crazy about it is it changes so much. The status of everything, unfortunately, right now, like a lot of people have said, it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think we're seeing that right now. But we hope it starts getting better quicker than later, for sure. So, but we will be looking down the road and talking with, obviously, us as a staff in the state office, and then with the Board of Control and them reaching out to their administrators and their local districts and getting feedback and things like that. So we will get to a point to where, you guys say, look, it's too far gone. And obviously basketball would be the first one we'd approach. And then you get to a certain point with spring sports where you're going to have to make a call that, we can't hold out anymore. I hope that day doesn't come. I hope we're talking pretty soon about, all right, here's our contingency plan, and we think we can get this in place, and let's go with it. But we got to look at all avenues in regards to this whole situation and keep them all open for right now, and that's what we're doing.
Well, we appreciate all the hard work you guys do. I know there's a lot to it, and I just want to salute you and all your guys and gals who are in the TSSAA and Board of Control and all those folks. I know it's a very important job that you all do, and I just want to say thank you. And
well, Greg, happy to do it. Happy to do it anytime, and thank you for providing the outlet to get this kind of information out there, and thanks for all you do in covering high school sports, not only on an annual basis, but a daily basis. So we appreciate you and everything you do as well.
Thank you, sir. The Assistant Executive Director, Matthew Gillespie, has joined us today. And once again, a big thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, Greg. Anytime.